What if the biggest thing standing between you and the life you want isn't your circumstances, your intelligence, your money, your talent, or even your luck? What if it's the part of you that has quietly learned to accept less? The part that says, this is good enough. The part that tells you to stop pushing, stop trying, stop risking, and just become comfortable. Because comfort doesn't always look like failure. Sometimes comfort looks like an ordinary life that slowly becomes a cage. You wake up, you do the same things, you make the same excuses, you scroll through the same distractions, you tell yourself you'll start tomorrow. You watch other people chase their dreams while you keep telling yourself that your time will come. And the most dangerous part is that nothing feels completely wrong. You're alive, you're functioning, you're getting through the days, but somewhere deep inside you know there is more in you. You know it. You felt it in those quiet moments when nobody is around. You felt that uncomfortable thought that asks, is this really all I'm capable of? You've imagined a stronger version of yourself, more disciplined, more focused, more confident, more relentless. A version of you that wakes up and doesn't negotiate with weakness. A version that doesn't need someone else to push him. A version that doesn't quit just because something becomes difficult. But then reality hits. The alarm rings and you hit snooze. The work becomes difficult and you postpone it. The results don't come quickly and you start doubting yourself. Someone criticizes you and suddenly you question your entire direction. You promise yourself you'll change tomorrow and tomorrow becomes another tomorrow. That's how average happens. Not in one dramatic moment. It happens quietly. One excuse at a time. One distraction at a time. One comfortable decision at a time. Until one day you look around and realize you spent years becoming a version of yourself you never intended to become. But here's the good news. If your habits created your current reality, your habits can create a different one. You are not finished. You are not trapped. You are not permanently defined by your past. And you don't have to wait for some magical moment when motivation suddenly appears. You need a decision, a real decision, the kind of decision that changes what you tolerate from yourself. Because there comes a point where you have to stop asking, how can I make my life easier? And start asking, how can I make myself stronger? That question changes everything. You begin to understand that the goal isn't to become better than everybody else. The goal is to become better than the version of yourself that keeps holding you back. You begin to understand that nobody is coming to rescue your potential. Nobody can do your work for you. Nobody can build your discipline for you. Nobody can take the next step for you. That responsibility belongs to you. And maybe that's uncomfortable. Good. Because discomfort may be exactly where your next level begins. So for the next few minutes, forget about the person next to you. Forget about who is ahead of you. Forget about who believes in you and who doesn't. Forget about your past. Look at yourself. Look at the potential you keep postponing. Look at the goals you've been talking about. Look at the habits you know you need to change. And ask yourself one question that could completely change the direction of your life. What if I stop settling? What if I stopped making excuses? What if I stopped waiting? What if I decided that average was no longer an option? Because the moment you make that decision, the battle begins. And the person who wins that battle won't be the person with the most talent. It will be the person who refuses to stop becoming. The person who keeps going when motivation disappears. The person who works when nobody is watching. The person who falls and gets back up. The person who looks at every excuse and says, not anymore. That person can be you. But first, you have to decide. Because your life will never become extraordinary until you become unwilling to keep living it ordinarily. And maybe today is the day you finally say it. Not for attention, not for anybody else, but for yourself. I can't be average. Average is not a number. Average is a decision. Average is what happens when you look at what you are capable of becoming. Look at how hard the road is, and then decide that comfortable is good enough. Average is when you know you could push harder, but you choose to stop. Average is when you know you should start, but you keep waiting. Average is when you have a dream in your heart, but you keep making excuses for why you cannot pursue it. And if you are listening to this right now, you need to understand something. You were not put on this earth just to exist. You were not given a mind, a body, a vision, and another day of life so you could spend your entire existence doing what everybody else is doing. You have to make a decision within yourself that says, I can't be average, because the world will constantly invite you to become average. It will tell you to slow down. It will tell you that you're doing too much. It will tell you to stop taking risks. It will tell you that your dreams are unrealistic. It will tell you to become comfortable. It will tell you to follow the crowd, because following the crowd feels safe. But understand this, the crowd can never take you somewhere the crowd has never been. If you want a life that is different, you have to be willing to do things differently. You have to be willing to sacrifice differently. You have to be willing to think differently. You have to be willing to work when nobody else is working. You cannot keep saying you want an extraordinary life while living an ordinary routine. You cannot say you want greatness while repeatedly choosing comfort. You cannot say you want to become powerful while allowing your habits to make you weak. At some point, you have to look at yourself honestly and say, enough. I'm done settling. I'm done making excuses. I'm done negotiating with the weaker version of myself. That decision changes everything. And don't misunderstand me. Refusing to be average doesn't mean you have to become better than everybody else. It doesn't mean you need to prove yourself to every person who doubts you. It means you refuse to become less than what you are capable of becoming. Your competition is not the person next to you. Your competition is the version of yourself that keeps making excuses. Your competition is yesterday. Your competition is the version of you that wasted hours scrolling, procrastinated on important work, quit when things became uncomfortable, and chose temporary pleasure over long-term progress. You don't need to beat everybody. You need to beat the habits that are keeping you small. Every morning gives you another opportunity to make that choice. You can wake up and repeat yesterday, or you can wake up and create a different future. You can hit the snooze button and tell yourself you'll start tomorrow, or you can get up and take control of your day. You can spend another hour watching somebody else live their life, or you can spend that hour building yours. You can complain about what you don't have, or you can use what you do have. The difference between an average life and an extraordinary one is often found in the small decisions nobody celebrates. Nobody celebrates you studying when you're tired. Nobody gives you applause for exercising when you don't feel motivated. Nobody sees you practicing alone. Nobody knows how many times you had to restart. Nobody knows how many nights you doubted yourself and still continue. But those moments matter. Those invisible moments are where your identity is being built. You become extraordinary long before anybody recognizes you as extraordinary. That's why you cannot depend on applause. If you need people to constantly tell you that you're doing well, you will struggle when the room becomes silent. You need to learn how to work without recognition. You need to learn how to continue without compliments. You need to learn how to believe in your direction even when the results are taking longer than expected, because there will be seasons where you work hard and nothing seems to happen. You will study and still fail a test. You will train and still lose. You will create and still get ignored. You will give your best and still experience disappointment. And that is where average thinking begins to whisper, maybe this isn't for you. Maybe you should stop. Maybe you're wasting your time. Don't listen. Results don't always arrive on your schedule. Sometimes the work is producing results beneath the surface before you can see them. A seed doesn't become a tree overnight. There's a period where nothing seems to be happening, but underneath the soil, something is developing. Your discipline works the same way. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you're strengthening yourself. Every time you choose work over distraction, you're strengthening yourself. Every time you continue after failure, you're strengthening yourself. You may not see the transformation immediately, but you're becoming someone different. And that's what this is really about. I can't be average. It's not just something you say when you're excited. It's a standard you carry when you're tired. Anybody can talk about greatness when they feel inspired. Anybody can make promises on January 1st. Anybody can say they're going to change when life is going well. But who are you when you're exhausted? Who are you when nobody is watching? Who are you when the results aren't coming? Who are you when your motivation disappears? That's where the real decision is made. You have to build a standard that doesn't depend on your mood. There will be days when you don't feel like working. Work anyway. There will be days when you're afraid. Move anyway. There will be days when you doubt yourself. Continue anyway. There will be days when you feel behind. Keep building anyway. Because if you only work when you feel motivated, you're allowing your emotions to control your future. You have to understand that comfort has a price. Every time you choose comfort over growth, you are making an investment in the person you will become. And every time you choose discipline over comfort, you're investing in a stronger future. You don't have to transform your entire life in one day. You have to win the next decision. Put the phone down. Do the work. Study the chapter. Finish the workout. Make the call. Practice the skill. Apply for the opportunity. Start the project. Have the difficult conversation. Take the next step. Then do it again tomorrow. And again and again. That is how you separate yourself. Not through one giant moment, but through thousands of ordinary moments where you refuse to make an ordinary choice. So stop waiting for permission to become who you know you can become. Or stop waiting for somebody to discover your potential. Stop waiting for perfect circumstances. Stop waiting until you feel ready. You may never feel completely ready. Go anyway. You may not have all the resources. Start anyway. You may not have everybody's support. Move anyway. You may fail. Learn anyway. You may fall. Get back up anyway, because average is not your destiny. It is simply a possibility, and you get to decide whether you accept it. You have more control than you think. You control what you do with today. You control whether you keep your promises to yourself. You control whether you continue learning. You control whether you keep showing up. And one day you are going to look back at the version of yourself who almost settled and realized that the greatest decision you ever made was refusing to stay there. So make the decision today, not tomorrow, today. Tell yourself that you will no longer measure your life by what is comfortable. You will measure it by whether you are growing. And you will no longer ask, what's the minimum I can do? You will ask, what am I capable of giving? You will no longer look for reasons to stop. You will look for reasons to continue. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be relentless about becoming better, because the goal isn't to prove that you're better than everyone else. The goal is to make sure that when your life is over, you don't have to wonder what you could have become if you had simply refused to settle. You owe it to yourself to find out. You owe it to your future to keep going. You owe it to that younger version of yourself who once dreamed without limits. So when the world tells you to settle, remember who you are. When comfort calls you, remember what you're building. When failure knocks you down, remember why you started. And when that voice inside your head tells you that average is good enough, answer it with everything you've got. I can't be average. Not because you think you're better than anyone, because you know you can become better than who you were yesterday. And that is the standard. That's the decision. That's the fight. And you make that decision every single day. Most people spend their lives comparing themselves to everyone around them. They compare their success, their appearance, their money, their followers, their opportunities, and their achievements. Every single day they measure their worth against someone else's progress, and without realizing it, they become prisoners of comparison. They stop chasing their own dreams because they are too busy watching somebody else's journey. But if you truly want to escape an average life, you have to break that habit. You have to become obsessed with something far more important than the people around you. You have to become obsessed with your own potential. There is a version of you that already exists in your imagination. That version wakes up with purpose. That version is disciplined when everyone else is distracted. That version keeps promises instead of making excuses. That version doesn't quit because things become difficult. That version is stronger, wiser, healthier, more focused, and more confident than the person you are today. The question is not whether that version exists. The question is whether you are willing to work long enough to become that person. Potential is one of the greatest gifts you will ever receive, but it is also one of the greatest responsibilities. Everyone has potential, but very few people ever discover how much they are truly capable of because they stop too soon. They settle for comfort before they reach greatness. They give up after one failure. They lose confidence after one rejection. They convince themselves that they have reached their limit when, in reality, they have only reached the point where growth begins. Your greatest enemy is not a lack of talent. It is a lack of commitment to your own possibilities. Every single day you either move closer to the person you could become or further away from that person. There's no standing still. Every choice matters, every habit matters, every hour matters. The life you dream about is quietly being built or quietly being destroyed by the decisions you make every single day. The problem is that most people wait until they feel inspired before they begin. They wait for the perfect move. They wait for confidence. They wait for certainty. They wait until life becomes easier. But potential is never unlocked by waiting. It is unlocked by action. You don't become confident before the work. Confidence is created because of the work. Every difficult task you complete, every obstacle you overcome, every promise you keep to yourself becomes another piece of evidence that you are becoming stronger than you were yesterday. Stop asking yourself whether you are good enough. Instead, ask yourself whether you are willing to improve. Greatness has never belonged only to the most talented. It belongs to the people who refuse to stop learning. It belongs to the people who stay hungry long after everyone else has become comfortable. It belongs to those who continue showing up when nobody is watching and when nobody is cheering. Imagine what would happen if you became as committed to your goals as you are to your distractions. Imagine if every hour you spend doubting yourself became an hour of practice. Imagine if every excuse became another repetition. Imagine if every complaint became another lesson. Your entire future would begin to change because your attention would no longer be focused on what you lack. It would be focused on what you are building. Potential is like a muscle. If you never challenge it, it never grows. If you avoid difficult situations because you're afraid to fail, you remain exactly where you are. Growth demands discomfort. Every new level of your life will require a stronger version of you. The person you are today cannot create tomorrow's success without becoming someone greater. That means there will be mornings when you don't feel like getting up. Get up anyway. There will be evenings when you feel exhausted. Continue anyway. There will be moments when you wonder if all your effort is worth it. Keep going anyway. Your future is not shaped by how you feel in one moment. It is shaped by what you repeatedly choose despite those feelings. Too many people underestimate themselves because they only see where they are today. They forget that every expert was once a beginner. Every champion once struggled. Every successful person once questioned themselves. Nobody starts at the finish line. Success is earned one decision, one habit, one sacrifice, and one disciplined day at a time. Do not waste your energy trying to impress people who will forget your name tomorrow. Invest that energy into becoming someone you are proud to see in the mirror. Build your confidence through action instead of seeking approval. Every time you finish something you promised yourself, your self-respect grows. Every time you break another excuse, your identity becomes stronger. Slowly, you stop needing validation because your discipline becomes your proof. There will always be people who doubt your vision. Some will laugh, some will criticize, some will tell you to lower your expectations because they have already lowered theirs. Never allow someone else's limited thinking to become your permanent reality. People often judge you according to the limits they have accepted for themselves. But your future does not belong to them. It belongs to you. The greatest investment you will ever make is investing in yourself. Read books that expand your thinking. Learn skills that increase your value. Train your body until it becomes a symbol of discipline. Strengthen your mind until problems no longer intimidate you. Protect your focus because your attention is one of the most valuable resources you possess. Every improvement you make today becomes an advantage tomorrow. Understand this clearly. The goal is not perfection. Perfection is impossible. Progress is what matters. If you become just 1% better every day, those small improvements will eventually create extraordinary results. Most people quit because they expect immediate transformation. They don't realize that greatness is built quietly through consistent effort over time. There will be days when your progress feels invisible. You will wonder if anything is changing. Keep going. Seeds grow underground before they ever break through the surface. Just because you cannot see progress does not mean progress is not happening. Every disciplined action is preparing you for opportunities you cannot yet see. Your future self is depending on the decisions you make today. One day you will either thank yourself for refusing to quit or regret every excuse you accepted. That future version of you is watching every choice you make. Every workout completed, every chapter studied, every skill practiced, every distraction resisted is another step toward becoming that person. Never become satisfied with wasted potential. There is something painful about knowing you were capable of more but chose less. Years from now, you don't want to wonder what could have happened if you had believed in yourself just a little longer. You don't want to carry the weight of unfinished dreams because fear convinced you to stop trying. Become obsessed with growing. Become obsessed with learning. Become obsessed with discipline. Become obsessed with becoming stronger than yesterday. Let improvement become your lifestyle instead of your temporary motivation. When other people are looking for shortcuts, look for growth. When other people are making excuses, make progress. When other people are settling, keep climbing every single day. Ask yourself one simple question. Did I become a better version of myself today? If the answer is yes, then you are winning, even if nobody notices yet. Success is not created in front of an audience. It is created in the quiet moments when you choose growth over comfort and discipline over excuses. One day people will look at your success and think it happened overnight. They won't see the mornings you woke up before sunrise. They won't see the nights you kept working after everyone else had gone to sleep. They won't see the failures, the sacrifices, the loneliness, or the moments when you wanted to quit but refused. They will only see the result. But you will know the truth. You will know that everything changed the moment you stopped chasing other people's lives and became completely obsessed with becoming the greatest version of yourself. Because your biggest competition has never been another person. It has always been the untapped potential living inside you. And until you bring that potential to life, your work is not finished. There's a moment in your life when you have to stop blaming your circumstances and start taking complete responsibility for where you are going. You have to understand that excuses may explain your situation, but they will never change it. An excuse can tell you why you didn't do something, but it cannot do the work for you. It cannot build your body. It cannot sharpen your mind. It cannot develop your skills. It cannot create your future. At some point, you have to decide that your excuses are no longer stronger than your goals, because every person has excuses. Everybody has something they could point to. Maybe you don't have enough money. Maybe you don't have enough time. Maybe nobody supports you. Maybe you didn't start early enough. Maybe you failed before. Maybe you're afraid. Maybe your circumstances aren't ideal. Maybe someone else had an advantage you didn't have. And some of those obstacles may be real. Life can be unfair. People can face circumstances they never asked for. But the question isn't whether life is fair. The question is what you're going to do with the hand you've been given. You cannot choose every circumstance, but you can choose your response. That is where your power begins. The moment you stop waiting for life to become easier and start becoming stronger, everything changes. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what can I do about it? You stop looking for someone to blame and start looking for something to build. Because excuses feel comfortable in the moment, but they become expensive over time. Every time you tell yourself, I'll do it tomorrow, you're teaching yourself that your promises don't matter. Every time you say, I'm too tired, when you simply don't want to be uncomfortable, you're teaching yourself to obey weakness. Every time you say, I can't, before you've genuinely tried, you're building a mental wall around your own potential. And the scary part is that eventually you stop recognizing these statements as excuses. They become your identity. You start saying, I'm just lazy. I'm just not disciplined. I'm not confident. I'm not talented. I'm not lucky. That's dangerous, because once you attach an excuse to your identity, you stop trying to change it. You have to separate who you are from what you've been doing. Maybe you have been inconsistent. That doesn't mean you're incapable of discipline. Maybe you've wasted time. That doesn't mean you have to waste tomorrow. Maybe you failed. That doesn't mean you're a failure. Maybe you quit before. That doesn't mean you have to quit again. Your past can explain you, but it does not have to control you. Discipline is the bridge between the person you are and the person you want to become. And that bridge is built one decision at a time. You don't develop discipline by making one giant decision and suddenly becoming unstoppable. You develop it through small promises that you keep every day. You tell yourself you're going to wake up at a certain time, and you do it. You tell yourself you're going to study for an hour, and you do it. You tell yourself you're going to train, and you do it. You tell yourself you're going to finish the task, and you do it. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you build trust with yourself, and that trust is powerful. Because confidence isn't simply believing that you're capable. Confidence is knowing that when you say you're going to do something, you can count on yourself to follow through.